Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Clinger2. In today's video, I'm going to be going over all the new abilities that have been introduced in Gen 9. So there's 32 of them, and this might be a longer video. I'm going to try to make it more concise as I possibly can without rambling too much about these abilities and what I think of them. So we can just kind of go through this pretty quickly here and not have a too long of a video. With that said, if you want to skip to the end, I do have all of them just listed. So the end will have all of them listed if you just want to go watch that. If at any point during this video, if you like it, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, without further ado, let's just get started here. So some of these names are just not going to be super easy for me to pronounce because I just haven't heard them specifically. So this is one of them. So we got Oinkologian. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, which I most likely did. And its ability is Lingering Aroma. So contact with this Pokemon changes the attacker's ability to Lingering Aroma. This can be useful, kind of like Mummy with Carcophagus, but this could be useful for maybe, let's say, someone and a Pokemon has Contrarious ability, right? So what this does is whenever a Pokemon uses a move like, let's say, Leaf Storm on Superior, instead of making its stats go down, they actually go in the reverse, so it would actually make its stats go up, so it gets a ×2 special attack off that. So you use this, and then let's say it wouldn't really work that way because that's just an example, but let's say it was a physical attack and it wasn't a special attack like Leaf Storm. Then that, or like Close Combat for instance, that would instead make them get Lingering Aroma, which would make Contra not work if it works before it ends the turn, so which it should. Flame Body kind of the same way. You know, if they attack you first, when they have Flame Body, then they no longer have Flame Body. So if you use a physical attack on them, now you can't be burned or have a chance of that happening. So that's Lingering Aroma. And moving on, we got Espithra, I guess. Its ability is Opportunist. If a Pokemon's stats boosted, the Pokemon seizes the opportunity to boost the same stat for itself again. So moves like Calm Mind, Agility, Swords Dance. So all these moves that boost your stats, right? If they're starting to boost their stat, you don't really have a super good check to that, and they can see that you don't have a super good check to that, and they already have one of those like moves activated. You know, so they use Calm Mind, and they're going to go for a second Calm Mind. You predict that. You throw this Pokemon out, and then they can't use that move anymore because if an opponent's stats boosted, you can't boost it again, basically, which is very helpful. But it also has a lot of prediction behind it, so you're probably not going to pull this off all the time, but if you can pull it off maybe once every 10 games or something like that, it'd be useful. So yeah, it's a good ability. Moving on here, we got Farafigid and Farigiraf. I don't like saying that. It's a very tongue twister in my opinion. And you got the new Tauros fighting type. And they both have Cudchew, which is a new ability. When the Pokemon eats a berry, it will regurgitate that berry at the end of the turn and eat it one more time. So that's really cool. So basically, this is like Recycle, but the ability is like Recycle. So let's say you have a citrus berry. You regenerate your health back up to, you go below half health. Now you're back into green health. You go below half health again. You use a citrus berry again without having to actually use a move like Recycle. Now, if this Pokemon does happen to have Recycle or Tauros, this could be very, very strong. Or I put a Lumberry here, just as another reference, as like another berry that some people use. So yeah, pretty good ability. And then Farigiraf has two abilities. It has Armor Tail, that's also new. And then it had Cudchew, and it has another hidden ability, but that one's already established. So Armor Tail is a new ability. The mysterious tail covering the Pokemon's head makes the opponent unable to use priority moves against the Pokemon or its allies. That's really strong, actually. So in singles, if you switch this in, you predict a quick attack, you predict a protect, you predict a fake out, or let's say they have a bullet punch or something like that, and you predict that, you switch in, and then you can basically negate that ability, or move. And this also protects your allies. So if you see one of your allies is going to get a priority move used against them, then you can actually switch them out and do that. And the reason why it would be good against Protect is because they can no longer use Protect. That move is done. You throw this Pokemon out, they can't use Protect anymore, So that's a very good, basically a wall break. Kind of like a wall breaker, to be honest. It's kind of crazy that they even do that. So moving on here, we got the ability Sharpness. Now this is on Gallade, so this might be another gens, but I don't think so. This Pokemon, it seems like this is for pretty much this gen, and then Gallade had the ability to have this as well. So this is the new Barracuda Pokemon, Veluza, and then I have Hisuian Samurott and Clevor also can use this. And these Pokemon didn't really have abilities in their previous game, which was Arceus, so this is all new abilities for them too. So Sharpness power up slicing move, so that would include all of these. Most of these, most people don't use, and I think there's a few more that I didn't put on here just because of the size. But Psycho Cut's good, you know. I would say Air Slash. I'm pretty sure Air Slash has the 30% potential to stun them / not let them attack. You know, you can use Fury Cutter might be good. And then, because Fury Cutter, if I'm not mistaken, powers up every single time you use it. And it's kind of like already getting that extra like second iteration of Fury Cutter. So you're already like halfway there. And Fury Cutter has a max damage of 160. So that could be actually pretty cool with this. But you have to use it in succession though. So Stone Axe is actually, I think Clevor is a ability, like default move. So you can actually use Stone Axe with that. So it powers up that, which is pretty neat. You know, and Leaf Blade's good, X Scissors good. If you can use all these moves on the Pokemon, given that they can, you know, learn them. So yeah, that is Sharpness. Moving on, we got the new Dolphin Pokemon, Palafin Zero form and Hero form. Now, in order to get to their Hero form, you throw the Zero form out, so it's 0 to Hero, and the Pokemon transforms into its Hero form when it switches out. So you throw the Zero form out, and then you switch it, and then it transforms into its Hero form. Now, this is good. This is not really a clear picture, but this is a little bit better. These are the stats just blown up over here. I'm sorry about it. It's kind of like cut off at the bottom here. But pretty much you got the Zero form, which has kind of mediocre stats. The stats aren't really that great. In all honesty, they're bad. They're not really good. But when it transforms into its Hero form, though, you got 160 attack. You got 106 special attack. Its defenses actually get buffed. So, I mean, it's not even like that bad. I mean, 160 base attack is really strong. It's also a pure water type, too, so it's not going to get hit by a whole lot as far as super effectives go. And you have terrestrialization as well, which could offer maybe like stabs, like fighting moves, if you can do that. So, I mean, very kind of gimmicky strat, since you have to send him out in a kind of not evolved form, and then he evolves like kind of mid-combat is how you can look at it, which is pretty neat, honestly. I don't know how well it's going to be used, but it can definitely be used in certain circumstances. Well, and then next up we got Arboliva. So this is the olive, so small olive evolves in this Pokemon. And we got Seed Sower, my bad, Seed Sower. And then it turns the ground into grassy terrain when this Pokemon is hit by an attack. Grassy terrain is good, you know, it heals you. This is kind of an overview of what it does. And it heals you at the end of the turn. It has some benefits as well. But I think this might be one of the only Pokemon that can benefit from grassy terrain in this gen. There's a lot of Pokemon in the previous gen, Gen 8, that actually could do this. Like, for instance, Rillaboom had an instant grassy terrain effect. And if Rillaboom's in here again, then he'll actually have that too, if I'm not mistaken. And his Grassy Glide was also something to, like, that was really good. It was a priority grass move if grassy terrain was up. But I don't know how good this will be, to be honest. Seed Sower, I don't know. It seems kind of mid in my opinion, but it is an ability, so got to put that on the list. We got Belly Bolt over here with Electromorphosis. The Pokemon becomes charged when it takes damage, boosting the power of the next electric type move the Pokemon uses. This could be really good if you, for instance, terrestrialize into an electric type, because then you get a 2 times on your stab with electric moves, which makes these moves that are already going to get powered up by whenever you take damage do a ton of damage. And then if it's anywhere near super effective, it's just going to absolutely obliterate everything. So, very good, I feel like. I just don't know how well Belly Bolt's attack goes and all of that. It kind of seems more of a defensive Pokemon, so I don't know for sure. I haven't looked at its stats. But, yeah, it seems like a pretty good ability. I just don't know if it's going to be super useful on Belly Bolt. Next up, we got Orthworm. This ability might be game-changing. Absolutely, this might actually be probably one of the biggest abilities in this game, to be honest, which is Earth Eater. If it's hit by a ground type move, the Pokemon has its HP restored instead of taking damage. Now this is a steel type if I'm not mistaken. The main thing is Earthquake. Earthquake for a very long time in this game, if not since its inception of Earthquake, has been a very strong, like just a normal move you see in competitive. It is 100 base power, 100% accurate. Ground hits a lot of things. This checks that, which is insane. Really, this is probably, like I said, probably one of the biggest abilities I think in the game. If this Pokemon is good at all, it's going to be a very, very good Pokemon competitively. So, yeah, I think this ability is insane. Moving on, we got the new pseudo-legendary lineup. And I think it's a pseudo-legendary. I'm not entirely certain, but it just looks like one, okay? It's the trio. It looks like a Godzilla Pokemon. It kind of has Tyranitar's body style. And its ability is Thermal Exchange. It boosts the attack stat of this Pokemon when it's hit by a fire type, and this Pokemon cannot be burned, which is just good. It's a Dragon Ice type, and if you swamp into a fire type Pokemon, attacking, you just immediately nullify that. In fact, you gain advantage from that, and you can't be burned either, which makes your physical attack on this literally insane. So you can always do good physical damage, even if they have Will-O-Wisp, but they can't even burn you. That's going to be nuts. That's a very strong Pokemon, especially with the buff to Ice types. Having Hail boost your defense since it's an Ice type. Yeah, this Pokemon's going to be quite something to deal with. So basically it's only going to be hit by like Rock Slide and Rock moves. Yeah, man. It's immune to fire is what it's saying. And it can't be burned. Honestly, I think this might have to have like a Mold Breaker scenario where it has to almost disable this ability. And the fact that this thing can terrestrialize as well to maybe something, that actually might open up a whole lot of new gates to just even that alone. That might be absolutely deadly. I have to like look into this, but geez, man, that's a good ability. So this Pokemon is very unique. This is the first time I think anything like this has ever happened in the history of Pokemon so far, and it's a Tatsugiri. Its ability is Commander, and Tatsugiri goes into Dondozo's mouth and will become immune to taking damage from attacks. Dondozo cannot switch out during this time, basically. And its stats are raised by 2 stages. All of them. And this is the Pokemon, which is one of the... you have to, like, hunt this guy. He's, like, one of the Titans or whatever. So, basically, this Pokemon in duos, which is when you're pretty much going to use this, is going to become immune if he's in here with Dondozo. Dondozo gains 2 stat raises completely. This Pokemon is completely immune to damage during this time frame. And it sounds like when it's Dondozo dies, this comes back out as a single Pokemon. So, basically it's an instant buff to Dondozo. Now, the downside is it can't switch out. If it could switch out, it'd be pretty busted. But the fact it can't switch out balances it out, and I don't think it's be that great, but it definitely could be used in some gimmick strats. That is for certain. So that is very neat. I like this kind of concept. I don't know how well it's going to actually be, though. Now we got Watt Rule and Kilowatt, or Kilowatt Rule. I actually like the name here because Watt is like an actual measure for, electricity, and then Kilowatt is, a kilowatt, which is it's an upgraded version of watts. And I like the fact that I don't really know what the trail means, but it's probably just some type of bird or something like that. But I like how that name actually works. So we got the ability Wind Power. The Pokemon becomes charged when it's hit by a flying move, boosting the power of the next electric type move. I mean, that's pretty neat. So now you got, Brave Bird becomes an absolute charge as a battery charge for this dude. Maybe even in let's say doubles. Let's say you purposely hit this guy with a flying move to make his electric move be insanely good. That'd be maybe an option. The main thing is here, it counters bird Pokemon. Because now, when you see a flying move, you switch this Pokemon in, and then you have an actual direct counter to flying Pokemon, being it's already an electric type and gets stabbed. So, depending on your switch-ins, predictions and stuff like that, this could be a very good option for a team. Just pretty insane, honestly. Basically, they have a lot of moves in this game, or abilities, that nullify types completely and actually trade it for benefits. Which is nuts. actually really crazy. First time I think this has ever happened. I didn't. Okay, but Bombirdier is its ability is Rocky Payload. Now this is another one of those Titan Pokemon being catched quite prevalently later in the game, and it powers up Rock type moves. So you got Rock Slide here. You know you can use what? I'm blanking on other rock moves right now, but there are a lot of them that you normally use. Rock Slide, Stone Edge. You normally see Stone Edge a lot. I think. Nah, I'm just gonna say Stone Edge for now. I don't know for sure on the other ones. I was gonna say Precious Blades, but that's Groudon's like signature moves. But yeah, powers up Rock type moves. Can't go wrong with that. Rock's a very prevalent type, especially with these Ice type Pokemon. Oh man, it's gonna be nuts. You need to have some good Rock Pokemon. But the thing is, Ice types counter Rock. So this Pokemon is Flying Dark type, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is Dark type, which is weird, judging by it has a boosting Rock move. But yeah, this is going to be, you know, it's going to be a strong. If you're not fighting anything as an Ice Pokemon, this is going to be a strong ability. Now we got Flamigo over here, and it has Coaster, which when this Pokemon enters a battle, it copies an ally stat change. I put a picture of a double battle here because, you know, it's actually pretty good because Smeargle can learn any move in the game. Let's say Smeargle uses like Calm Minds, and let's say it has Agility. For some reason uses some crazy moves. Let's say you're playing Anything Goes in Showdown and you use like Z-Sketch and you just boost all your stats by 1. You just put in Flamigo, it copies those stats. So this Pokemon can actually be pretty busted depending on what its moveset is. And for that, I feel like this ability also can just be nuts. If it's on any other Pokemon that's outside of this Pokemon, which I don't think is that great stat-wise, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you're looking at like a massive good Pokemon, just immediately copying all the stages. It's basically getting kind of like a baton pass, but just for free, since it's just an ability, you know. So that's nuts. Next up, we got Cloth. I don't have any pictures for this, so basically, it's a bunch of stat changes. So when an attack causes its HP to drop below half or less, this Pokemon gets angry. This lowers its defense and special defense, but boosts its attack and special attack and speed stat. So this Pokemon, when it's kind of like Berserk. If you think of Berserk from, what is it, Galarian Moltres, right? That's the region it's from. It's kind of like Berserk, but better, essentially. This is another ability that could go absolutely hard on a really good Pokemon. This is a really good ability. Pretty much you're trading you're basically becoming a glass cannon. And in these games, that doesn't matter. If you're outspeeding and you're doing tons of attack, it is worth it to become a glass cannon in most cases. I mean, that's why you have focus sashes. That's why you have all these other different things that are based around glass cannons like Pheromosa, Speed Form, Deoxys. The only downside is you have to be below half health for this to activate, but if you have a Citrus Berry on this guy or you have Recover or something like that, you can actually just re-heal off that and then potentially keep getting these buffs, which would be nuts. So there is that. I feel like this is, like I said, for this Pokemon, I don't think it's going to be as good, but if this was like on any other Pokemon, this could be absolutely nuts. So next up we got the Rock. Dude, this is such a weird, this shape design here. They went super hard on these like rectangles and squares and stuff like that. Very interesting how they did this. But basically this is a Rock Salt Pokemon line. And let's see, I'm just going to try to pronounce these names. Got Nosli, Knocklestack, and then we got Garganockel. Alright, so its ability is Purifying Salt. The Pokemon's Pure Salt protects it from status conditions and half the damage taken from Ghost-type moves. I don't really know why it has the Ghost-type benefit here for not halving that and stuff. Maybe because of Calyrex, and this is like a check for Calyrex or something like that, because I'm pretty sure that's coming back in the game if you transfer it in. So the status conditions is really good. So basically all these no longer exist on this Pokemon. You cannot have these even affect that. And for that, this is an insanely good ability. You can't get burned, you can't get paralyzed, you can't get frozen, slept, or poisoned. Just really good. It's kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh card where it just says, I negate your entire play. Okay, that's basically what this says. and it's really good for that reason. So you can't be burned, which means you can physically attack things. You can't be frozen or slept, so you can always attack, and you can't even be paralyzed, so your speed can't get decreased with a chance of not even attacking. You can't even be poisoned, so you can't even have like your toxic stalled or something like that. So these abilities actually prevent stalling tactics in the game, which is insane. Moving on, we got Toxic Debris with Glimmet and Glamora. Now this, speaking of that last ability, this one, that might be a check to this, but overall, this is an insane ability. This is another one that's absolutely crazy. Basically, it scatters poison spikes at the feet of the opposing team when the Pokemon takes damage from physical moves. Now, as if you play the game or if you don't know yet, basically 1 stack is poison, 2 stacks is toxic. You get 2 stacks on here for free since it's an ability, and if you get physically damaged, that's what happens. The fact it's free if you get physically hit is crazy. You do not have to use toxic spikes anymore. If you do have toxic spikes on this Pokemon, if you predict right, you just swamp in, get a physically hit move, and you just throw toxic spikes down, and it's only 1 turn to get toxic spikes to get toxic. It's 2 layers. Insane. This is just a good move. It's a very good ability. Toxic spikes are very good. Although you can just throw a toxic Pokemon out to get rid of them, it doesn't matter. The fact that you can just throw these out because you get hit is insane. That's really good. Do I think it's going to be game breaking, meta defining or something? I don't know. I have to see. I just in theory, this is a very good ability. Now next up we got Dash Bun. Well Baked Body. Again, this is another immunity type base moves. The Pokemon takes no damage when hit by fire type moves. Instead, its defense stat is sharply boosted. And if I'm not mistaken, sharply is through 2 stages. So it goes 2 times. So basically it increases its defense by 2 times. Now this is another big prediction based move. You have to predict that they're going to use a fire move against this Pokemon, or else you're just not going to be able to get the benefit from this, because I don't think anyone that plays this competitively is going to be kind of dumb enough after a while to hit you with the fire move on this Pokemon. And plus, I think it's a normal type, so there'd be no reason to hit you with a fire move. Unless it was a really strong physical attacker, which it doesn't look like. So, like I said, pretty good ability. You have to kind of predict this. It kind of goes on the mid-tier in my opinion. Not really too great, but it isn't bad though. Next up we got Guard Dog by Mabosstiff. And Guard Dog boosts the Pokemon's attack stat if intimidated. Moves and items that would force the Pokemon to switch out will also fail to work. This is a pretty impressive ability. This does 3 things. So let's just break this down. We got the Pokemon's attack stat. Just boost the Pokemon's attack stat if intimidated. So Intimidate. A lot of Pokemon have this. When you throw it out, it lowers the attack stat. So instead of doing that, you actually get a boost. When they say boost, it's probably 1.5 times, which is still a boost. It's not a negative, so it's obviously a plus. So you got 1 plus here. Moves and items that would force the Pokemon to switch out would also fail to work. So now we got some moves here. I put Roar and Dragon Tail. Both these moves switch your Pokemon out. So if I use Roar, it's going to switch your Pokemon out to a random party member. If I use Dragon Tail, it does damage and then switches them out. So, with that said, this Pokemon cannot be switched out anymore. Very good, depending on the circumstances. It's kind of situational based, but the fact that it has almost 3 abilities in 1 ability is pretty nuts. Next up, we got the items side of this. So you got Red Card. Red Card is a consumable held item in Generation 5. If the user is hit by another Pokemon damaging move, it switches out the attacker. So if they have a Red Card, you can't even get Red Card. You just stay in, which is pretty good. Red Card's not used that much, but I have seen used on Shuckle and other leads. So you can predict that, and you can just absolutely make Red Card not an actual item for them. So that's, basically denying someone things in these games is big. And this is denying them basically 2 things and then 3 things and giving you pluses on all of them pretty much. Very good ability, honestly. It's just kind of a little bit more situational based than most, but very good overall. Next up we got Bramblin and Bramblegast. I like these designs a lot. These are probably my favorite Pokemon from this generation. And its ability is Wind Rider. Boost the Pokemon's attack stat if Tailwind takes effect, or if the Pokemon is hit by a flying move. This Pokemon also takes no damage from flying moves. So again, with these negations on complete like overhauls on these like blanket, attacks, this thing does not take damage from flying moves, and it's a grass type, so that's one super effective. It's no longer super effective with. That's crazy. You got Tailwind. Tailwind says good. Okay, that's a really good. That's just a good move. Okay, Tailwind boost your speed on your party for 5 turns ish. So whenever you use it, it makes your party faster whenever they're out on the field. So this Pokemon just gains speed, and then it also boosts its attack if Tailwind's active. So not only do we get a speed boost, we get an attack boost, and we're immune to flying moves, which is a super effective against this Pokemon. Very good. Very good. I don't think it'll be anything. This ability depends on how good this Pokemon is, if it's going to be good or not in competitive. It's really how it works. But overall, this is a really good, very good, I would say, ability. Just depends on how good this Pokemon is. And this is just kind of, I just put the definition of what Tailwind does over here, if you want to pause and read that. So next up we got Goldingo, which is Gimmighoul's evolution, and its ability is Good as Gold. A body of pure solid gold that gives Pokemon full immunity to other Pokemon status moves. So this is similar to the Rock Salt Pokemon from earlier, with that ability. Purifying Salt, if I'm not mistaken, is what it is. But this time it does not give you the benefit of the ghost moves. It just gives you the full immunity to other Pokemon status moves that are, attacking you. So with that said, you could, if this Pokemon has Rest, this does not define Rest as this would not include Rest from the way how it's described. So you could rest on yourself, even though making yourself fall asleep, but you just can't be slept by your other Pokemon's abilities, So you could put yourself to sleep, wake up with a Chesto Berry, and then heal yourself. So that is something that could be done with this, which is pretty crazy, honestly. So yeah, overall, this is a pretty good ability. I think the other one, Purifying Salt, is a probably better overall ability because it just has that extra ghost benefit for some reason. But depending on stats, it's really going to depend on what Pokemon are going to be used and stuff like that, if any of these, But overall, pretty good. So next up, we got the Scarlet's Paradox forms and their overall ability. So all these Pokemon have the same ability, which is Photosynthesis. And it boosts the Pokemon's most proficient stat in Harsh Sunlight, or the Pokemon's holding booster energy. So this works similar to Beast Boost from Gen 7 with all the Ultra Beast, but it works differently at the same time. So Harsh Sunlight is just pretty much sunlight. You can get it from Sunny Day, Drought, Desolate Land, Max Flare, as listed here, underneath the Harsh Sunlight tab and our picture. And what this pretty much is this actually pairs with the legendary Koraidon. And that's really what it's supposed to do. Koraidon basically activates a Drought, and we'll talk about that in here in a second. But these Pokemon actually, if you can pull that off, benefit from being paired with Koraidon, essentially, which is pretty cool. But if you do have these other abilities, like I said, like, moves, like Sunny Day or Max Flare, you don't have Max Flare in this game, so it'd be Sunny Day, or an ability like Drought or Desolate Land. Groudon's in this game, so you could pair it with Groudon as well. And it would basically boost the Pokemon's most proficient stat. I don't know if this does it over and over again like Beast Boost does. Beast Boost, if you kill a Pokemon, it boosts that stat over and over again, depending on how many you kill. In this game, I think it sounds like it's just going to boost it once, but we'll have to see. I can't really clarify that since I don't know any more on that than just that. But yeah, overall, good ability, I would say. I put this in the good ability category. Now, this is Violet's Paradox forms and their abilities, which is Quark Drive, which boosts the Pokemon's most proficient stat in electric terrain, or the Pokemon's holding booster energy. Okay, just to clarify, booster energy is an item, so you'd have to put that on the Pokemon for them to continuously gain that. And the same thing with this. So just to clarify that's how that works. And Quark Drive is on electric terrain, which Miraidon generates electric terrain by its ability. So just to clarify that too. So electric terrain also, which is cool about electric terrain because no Pokemon can fall asleep in the electric terrain, which is pretty neat. And sunlight depletes water, like it halves water damage. So that's kind of their like passives. This is electric terrain, the move. This is electric surge, which is an ability that Tapu Koko has, and the sea urchin Pokemon, I forgot its name, it's kind of annoying to say. And this is the description of what electric terrain does in generation, I think this is 8, yeah, that's 8. So, depending on, if they make changes to this or not, I don't know, because I don't have it listed for generation 9 yet, but this is what it says on 8. And I don't think there's any Pokemon that has electric surge in Scarlet and Violet. I just put this here to let you know that there is an ability that does this. So, yeah, I think this is going to be not as useful. That's just my opinion. I might be completely wrong. Some of these Pokemon might be insane, and they might benefit highly from this. Maybe the booster energy is the way to go with these, but I just don't think Miraidon is even nearly as strong as Koraidon. Next up, we got the Quad Legendaries. So we got Ting Lu over here with the vessel on its head, and that means it kind of ties on this ability over here, which is Vessel of Ruin. The power of this Pokemon's Ruinous Vessel lowers the special attack of all Pokemon except itself. So this includes the enemies, your opponent's Pokemon, and your own Pokemon if you're in double battles. Or triples. I think it's just doubles though. So it lowers the special attack. And this is a trend here. So Chin Pao is Swords of Ruin, and the power of this Pokemon's Ruinous Sword lowers the defenses of all Pokemon except itself. Wo-Chin, Tablets of Ruin, the power of the Pokemon's Ruinous Wooden Tablets lowers the attack stat of all Pokemon except itself. And Chin Yu is Beads of Ruin, and the power of this Pokemon's Ruinous Beads lower the special defense stat of all the Pokemon except itself. Something that is interesting to note here. Most likely, from what it looks like, this Pokemon's going to be strong in special attack, which makes them lower their special defense, which is going to give them a benefit to attack with. This Pokemon's probably high in defense, which means it's going to lower their attack, so they're going to be able to live longer. This Pokemon's probably high in attack, so it lowers their defense. This Pokemon looks like it's probably going to be strong in special defense, so this is going to lower their special attack. This is going to be interesting because all these abilities are good. They're just situational. And the fact that it lowers your own Pokemon stat as well is going to make it a weird kind of scenario. So I don't really know how good they're going to be, but maybe it just outweighs that, depending on what exactly happens with these abilities and how you compare them up with other Pokemon in double battles. But these are definitely, in my opinion, supposed to be used in double battles. They could be used in singles, but I don't think it's kind of like they're intimidating, but with a different aspect on every one of them, which is pretty cool at the end of the day. I do think his abilities are all good. I just don't know how well they're going to stack up, is basically what I'm saying. So next up we got Koraidon. And we got Calicum Pulse. Calicum Pulse. I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. I have to hear how that's pronounced. But it turns to Sunlight Harsh when the Pokemon enters a battle. This also boosts its attack stat in Harsh Sunlight, which is nuts. Okay, we're talking, it not only benefits all the Paradox Pokemon from this gen, or this Scarlet side, and it boosts its attack. I mean, we're talking 3 positive things here. And then Sunlight also decreases water damage. I mean, we're talking very good here. This is probably better than Primal Groudon. It depends on the stats, but man, dude, this is insane. This just straight up, you just come in here and you have an immediate attack boost because you generate the Sunlight. And if you have a Paradox Pokemon, that immediately gets a boost too. You're talking 3 boosts. There is no negative of this at all. This is probably one of the most OP things. This is like Zacian kind of from Gen 8. I don't know exactly how strong it's going to be, but it's going to be up there. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be up there. So next up we got Miraidon. We got Hadron Engine, and this turns the ground into an electric terrain when the Pokemon enters a battle. This boosts a Pokemon's special attack on electric terrain. So this kind of balances it out, but it's just not as strong. I don't think electric terrain can even handle what Harsh Sunlight does. And the fact when these two Pokemon are on the field together, you can both have terrain and sunlight at the same time. So that's pretty interesting. And this also boosts your Paradox Pokemon as well from Violet side. I don't know. I don't think Miraidon's going to be as good. I'm going to be completely honest. Burn is pretty much a thing now. It doesn't exist practically in this game. It does, but it's not as good as it used to be because there's a lot of counters to it. So I don't think Burn's going to be used as much. And you have a lot of physical attackers. Pretty much, it's just going to be an all-out slugfest. I think that this one's going to I think Miraidon's going to outweigh Miraidon in this scenario here. That's just my opinion. I just have to see how it plays out. I don't know anything on the metas yet. No one knows. It's still very early on, but this is like my predictions, kind of. So, Toedscool and Toedscruel is going to be pretty nice. So, Mycelium Might is the ability. And the Pokemon will always act more slowly when using status moves, but these moves will be unimpeded by the ability of the target. So, this is a check to Good as Gold and Purifying Salt. As I put here, Purifying Salt makes him immune to status conditions? Nope, not anymore. Mycelium Might goes through that, but it moves slower. Good as Gold basically prevents status conditions? Not anymore. Not with Mycelium Might, it just moves slower. So this is actually pretty cool. I do like this. This is a kind of good check to this. I don't know exactly how useful it's going to be, because I don't know how good the other Pokemon are going to be, but it seems really good though. Moving on, we got Supreme Overlord. And basically, this is Bisharp's evolution, and when this Pokemon enters a battle, its attack and special attack are slightly boosted for each of the allies in its party that have already been defeated. Crazy strong. This could be an absolutely insane reverse sweeper here. We got this Pokemon's attack and special attack raised by 10% for each fainted teammate. Now, this is going off of Showdown. And this is like kind of a set I came up with here. And if you want to like use this, you're more than welcome to. But this is what I came up with. I think it's a pretty good set. This is, depending on what you terraform into, this could be a stab knockoff, which is just going to do a ton of damage if this is the last Pokemon alive. And all these other moves are just really good in coverage. So this is kind of like my prediction on how I would use this with the Choice Scarf to make it move quicker than most Pokemon. So yeah, you can take that as what you want. But yeah, as promised, here are all of them just kind of listed. And you can take a pause here and just read over all these. And there's 2 pages. So here's the second page. But yeah, thank you guys for watching a lot. If you like the video, like I said, feel free to just like and subscribe and comment. And hope to see you again soon. I'm going to be out for now. See you guys. See you on the next one. Have a good day. Bye.